Welcome. Welcome to the LinkedIn Power Profile Fast Facts. These are facts and information that I like for professionals to know, particularly women and minorities, because it feels like by the time the information gets to the people it should be, the market is overdone or oversaturated and we're on to something else. So these are actually the most up to date terms and the most up to date information that's out there right now as it pertains to LinkedIn. So you might want to buckle up and pay attention and get your mittens on and sit down like Bernie. Okay, so let's get into it. First things first, I want you guys to be very careful with the words that you're using on your LinkedIn profile because it can determine what type of offer you get, right? And it also can determine if you're worthy of even applying for a leadership role. Another thing that's starting to happen on the market is if you've been in the same role or position for 10 to 15 years, or you've outgrown your current role, you need to kind of help LinkedIn make sense of that now. LinkedIn is optimizing and their optimization tools are very advanced. So don't just copy and paste your resume in there. Really look at what you have in your resume. Ask yourself, is this up to date? Is this really what I'm doing right now in that role? Is it recent? Is it something that is still relative to the market? Is this even something that recruiters are looking for? And how long have you been in your industry? If you have like 10, 15, 20 years of experience and you have a long resume, you have to kind of help LinkedIn make sense of that, right? When a recruiter comes to your page, it needs to be very clear what the next step is for your career. And I don't mean create a career objective that says, oh, the next step in my career is to obtain a position where that's a waste of space. What I mean is that you have to make the profile make sense. So make sure you're being very aware of what you put in. And I'm going to get into exactly how to do that a little bit later. Overused words. If you are using these words, please keep in mind these were voted the top 3 overused words of 2019 and 18 by recruiters who were polled on salary.com. They polled over 4,000 recruiters, and all of them across all industries agreed that they are tired of people using responsible for, managed, and led. Responsible for. If you already got hired to be an engineer or project manager and you put out what you did in that role, we know that's what you were responsible for. So it is a redundant word. It also takes up space where you can actually showcase your talent that you brought to that role, how you problem solve versus just telling us what was assigned to you. How you managed tells a different story. And I'll give you an example. So if you say, oh, managed KPIs for several different groups. How about if you say co-collaborated with cross-functional teams to ensure that we were able to funnel up the information properly to executive teams in our KPI dashboard. You have to tell us how you problem solve, what you brought to the table without being long-winded and without being vague. I think a lot of people try to stay vague because they're pivoting into other industries, but the worst thing you can do is not really tell us what you did at all. The term led, there are other words that you can use as well, and I'll get into how you can get those words in that bank of information that I have. But first things first, make sure you're not overusing those words. If you have them, use them sparingly. I like to tell my clients, when I see responsible for in their resume, that automatically takes my eye there and I think to reframe it. Okay. You want to make sure that you are always putting your best foot forward and you're staying fresh on the market. So let me get my face out of the way. Okay. LinkedIn matches you the moment you apply. And so LinkedIn is no longer this thing that's just matching you every time you apply, like, oh, she was number one, so she's at number one. That's not how it works. If you see a job opening and you hurry up and apply for it, that's good in case the recruiter goes in early to look at resumes. But when he or she comes back and 45 people have applied, LinkedIn is going to choose the top profiles that are in alignment with what that person was looking for. And so I've hired my team on LinkedIn. I can put specifications and qualifications that's not in the post. I can put skill sets that's not in the post. And on LinkedIn, you can put things in your profile to where LinkedIn will optimize for you and link you up and push that resume to the top. So I'll talk about that strategy in my free master's class that I'll tell you about in just a little bit. But just wanted to bring that to your attention because a lot of people don't really know how LinkedIn works because it's growing by the day, right? Every time I open my LinkedIn, there's a new setting. So everything's always ever changing. 90% of recruiters are on LinkedIn. So what that means is some of your best opportunities, top paid positions. I get a lot of people who want to work for Amazon, Google, and all of the big tech companies right now. That's fine. And that's a great aspiration. They pay very well. However, if you don't have a healthy, presentable LinkedIn profile, they won't find you, because you have to think about the other uh, massive amounts of people who are applying. So if you want to stand out and you want to find opportunities this spring that are actually worth what you contribute to an organization, you might want to put a lot more effort in your LinkedIn versus your resume, okay? So yeah, LinkedIn is the spot to be. I find that when people are on Indeed, they get lower offers, okay? And so here's something that I actually live by, and this is why my services exist. I am Daniela Green, okay? And I hail from Houston, Texas. Been in oil and gas for since I was about 15, 16 years old, interning, because I graduated high school fairly young. Um, and one of the reasons why I started this program is because not only am I a leadership coach and strategist, but most importantly, I've already been in executive leadership. I've already done the VP title. And so I actually know what that takes. I know about diversity initiatives. And I work with a lot of professionals in the tech industry. If you've outgrown your title, this happens so often with women of color, because we just don't feel comfortable negotiating. So if you've outgrown your title, right? You've been sitting for a while. Keep this in mind before you decide if you want to register or not, okay? If you've outgrown your title, what's the next move? Because if you stay in that same role and you continue to let your salary rise, what you're going to find is that your salary eventually is going to hit a glass ceiling. No one's going to get to a point of paying you $160,000 a year to be just an engineer one. So you have to learn how to progress your career yourself as your title changes, as you grow. And so we're going to talk a lot about that strategy and how to reposition yourself on LinkedIn to say, hey, this is what I can contribute. A lot of people come to me because they are overworked and underpaid. And if that's the case for you, you're probably in the same position as a lot of clients who come to me, which is a lot of people who have a lot of talent and they've outgrown their title. And so my marketing approach with your profile is to get you in a position to pivot. Lots of organizations are trying new processes and looking for people from different industries to come into their organization and make an impact. And so if you come to the master's class that I'm going to be covering, we're going to talk about exactly what to do to move your resume to the top, or your LinkedIn profile to the top of the search function when they open up that profile, so you can be in the top 5 no matter who applies. We're also going to talk about how to find the titles that perfectly align with what you currently do. Because keep in mind, each organization calls what you do something else. So if you're a project manager, they may call that a product manager or program manager. So instead of trying to match these titles up, we have to align your skill sets. And I'll show you exactly how to do that in my master's class. Also, you want to make sure you get yourself in a position where you know how to pitch to recruiters. A lot of these opportunities have an option where you can message the recruiters. A lot of the times people just go in those recruiters inboxes and start giving them stuff to do, and hey, I have questions. And if those people are just trying to find someone to fill a position, there's a lot that they're going to be looking for in that first initial message to get things moving. So I'm going to talk about that as well. I hope I get to see you guys in the master's class, because I cover a lot of information that can help you kind of stay fresh on the market. So the class is called Pivoting into Leadership on LinkedIn, and it is free, and I have limited registration. So make sure you go and register now. I'm about to put the link in the comments and in the bottom of my post. Thanks.